Hi, Libra Sun and Rising. Welcome to your March 2024 Astro Update. It's Raina here. Well, one of the big stories, maybe the biggest for Libra, is the lunar eclipse in your sign, which is happening towards the end of the month. I'm going to get to that as I go down the list chronologically, but I just wanted to say that. And we're starting to also see some planets go into your opposite sign of Aries. What this means is that this begins to trigger that seventh house of committed partnership, which you rule in astrology. So you have a definite affinity for this particular area of life. And what it does is it brings these issues to the forefront. You will have a solar eclipse in this sector in April in Aries. So, but you may even, some of you may feel the energy from that earlier on because the eclipses are not necessarily tied exactly to the date that they occur. They can affect people a month before. They could affect it after. So on the 10th of March, Mercury goes into Aries. Okay. Before I talk about Aries in that seventh house, Pisces for you is the sixth house. And what is important to note is that not only are you having these, transits that you would typically have every time around March because of them being tied to the sun, being closer to the sun than not all the time. Sometimes they, because of retrogrades, they're a little further away. As a matter of fact, you're going to have Mars in the sixth house in Pisces, and you did not have this last year. At this time last year, you had Mars going into Cancer in the last week of March because it was stuck in Gemini for so long due to the retrograde in Mars. Now, Libra individuals have been dealing with Saturn in their sixth house for the past year. So I would ask you, how has it been, Libra? Have you found that you have had to work a lot harder than you have in recent memory? Remember that Saturn has a 30-year cycle. It stays in one sign for approximately 2.5 years. So at this time for the next few years, you're going to be laying down some foundations as it pertains to work and maybe in some cases even your health. And you may feel like you're working a lot, working overtime, maybe even that you're not seeing so many results from your actions yet, because it's almost like being in boot camp in a sense. And I would say too that if you are starting a business and you have to do all these things that are foundational, I feel like the sixth house could apply to that as well. And it could be just like your daily routine has to be very structured so you can fit everything in. But if you put in the effort now, down the road, you'll look back and you'll thank God that you persevered, that you continued on with it, because it can serve you well for years to come. Saturn is about the long haul. And when people are just looking at, instant gratification, they may get that, but then they can't sustain it sometimes because they're just going for the quick fix. So anyway, you also have had Neptune here, and sometimes that can lead to disillusionment, being overly idealistic and then feeling disillusioned about something. You might feel like a little bit confused about what it is that you're supposed to be doing. But actually, I find that a lot of times this may be because the very thing that you're supposed to be doing is not cookie cutter. It's not something that you can just major in college or something. It might be that you're trying to integrate spirituality and art and like as a healing modality, but it's something that you have to do intuitively, and maybe it will take some time to get there, or whatever you could talk about that might be something especially connected to the healing arts or to just the fine arts, or maybe both combined. On the 10th of the month, Mercury goes into Aries in that seventh house, and we have a new moon at 20 degrees of Pisces. So, in regards to Mercury, Mercury in the seventh can make you talking to someone about something that is connected to you and someone else. So, what I mean by that is partnership. If you are coupled, you might be negotiating something with your partner. This may be a legal matter. The seventh house can be legal affairs. Mercury can be contracts. Mercury can be obviously communication. Maybe you're making wedding plans and you're contacting, reception halls. I don't know. But on the same day, we have the new moon in the sixth house. So that could be new developments in terms of work, service to others. Maybe you're talking to somebody about kind of forming a business partnership. And truth be told, I think a lot of Libra individuals would prefer to go that route rather than work for themselves. But of course, everybody's different. On the 11th, the next day, Venus goes into Pisces, into that sixth house. Venus in the sixth house can be great for harmony in the workplace. The sixth house can be the space that you share in the workplace. It could be your coworkers. You may be making a friend among your coworkers. You could be having some kind of a dalliance with your coworkers or falling in love with a coworker too. And or doing, since this is the new moon energy is very fresh at this time, having just occurred a day before, this might even be some kind of work associated with creativity or getting a raise. Venus can be money. And maybe that's why Mercury is in the seventh. You have to negotiate something, you have to mediate something, and go to somebody to mediate that. There was something else I was going to say about Venus in the sixth, though. Beautifying your office, getting it painted. Oh, there was something else I was going to say. I can't think of it. On the 19th, the sun goes into Aries. This is the astrological new year. So this is a time when it is one of those markers during the year where it can be a great time to start something. And this is the last month that we have all the planets direct. So if you have something to push forward, this would be a great time for that. On the 22nd, Mars goes into that sixth house. Mars in the sixth house can, well, let's put it this way, okay? Mars can be the sex drive. It can be hot and heavy. And let's say with Venus in the sixth house, you have taken a fancy to someone. Well, this could be you putting it into motion. This can also be conflicts in the workplace. So And by the way, like I said, you haven't had Mars here for, maybe close to 2 years. So if you've had smooth sailing and now Mars is entering the picture, watch out for any kind of situation. It might not be that you're starting it, but you may feel that tension, and depending on other factors, you might be tempted to kind of, express yourself in a way that is very aggressive. Now, I would say that Sun and Libra people, that would be not necessarily the case because you tend to be very diplomatic and things like that. Maybe more likely like Libra rising and having the Sun and I don't know, Aries or something. I don't know. But anyway, the point is that even if you don't say anything, you may notice that there is something going on. Now, because there was a new moon here, maybe you have a new manager, new management, and that person is trying to push people to compete with one another. Mars can be competition. And again, that can lead to tension, that can lead to conflict. This can simply be starting a new exercise regimen. On the 25th, there is that lunar eclipse in your sign at 5 degrees of Libra. For some of you, for instance, if your rising sign is 6 degrees of Libra to 29 degrees of Libra, that lunar eclipse is happening in the 12th house. But honestly, whether it's happening in the first house for you or whether it's happening in the 12th house, I think that the effects will be similar, albeit slightly different. So for those of you who this is going to be the 12th house, this can be a great time to let go of bad habits. Actually, this is not about you consciously making the decision that you're going to let go of a bad habit. It's like you have this power to be able to do so because the lunar eclipse is helping to kind of, it's like erase your karma or to kind of wash over you in some kind of major release. And, because the 12th house can be self undoing, it can be the habits that you have that hold you back, that keep you from doing the things that you really want to do. So the things that you trip yourself up with. And of course, addiction is a big one, but the 12th house has a lot to do with escapism. And that's what addiction is to me at the end of the day. So there's so much that can be, and because it's the house of karma, that sometimes I think is a big reason why people have addictions, because they're carrying them over from past lives where they had a tendency. You could call it a weakness, just a tendency to do certain things that are not in the person's highest good, and therefore they have to let go of that which is not serving them. So, in the first house, this can be the same thing, but it would be on a more conscious level about things that are more apparent to others, like your mannerisms, the kind of conditioned responses that you engage in. The first house is the house of the self. So it could even be, I feel like, your body on the physical level, and because of that transit of Mars into 6th house and having the new moon recently there, you may be on a health kick and you're trying to turn over a new leaf, and this kind of incorporates that because it's the body, and so you are letting go of certain things. But with Libra, I feel like Libra people tend to be very concerned about their appearance and maybe overly involved in it and too wrapped up in how they look and things like that. So who knows? Maybe it's like saying, it's like more self acceptance. I'm going to let go of my need to look perfect, to be the perfect weight or to have the perfect hair. That's not what makes me okay. My appearance, like how beautiful I am, how handsome I am. I can be loved and accepted regardless of how I appear, because that's what an appearance is, how you appear. Well, is that your true self? Of course not. Doesn't mean you can't be healthy. That's like a totally different vibe though, and it's coming from self-love. Being overly concerned about appearance is actually coming from low self-esteem and feeling and being afraid. It's fear-based. Like, if I don't look a certain way, I won't maintain this relationship. I won't be loved anymore, and I won't be accepted by others. So this can have a very profound effect on you. Maybe there's some area of your life that is changing. I look at the first house as a catch-all house for the events in one's life in general. So maybe something is definitely coming to a close or to fruition. All right, Libra, that's what I have for you. I hope that this resonated. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.